think so.
Yeah,
Yes.
never.
And even if you are, not feeling too good, everything's, um, becoming stressful, I hope that you still find time to, be able to rest at the very least. Okay. So let's go ahead and begin with introductions. And I have a couple icebreaker questions for you guys. And those questions, I'll type it in the chat. I'm going to paste it. Okay. But let us know you guys' names, pronouns, and then first question is, on a scale of 1 to 5, how open are you with your parents or family members about your mental health? 1 being least open, 5 being most open. And the second question is, what is one song that makes you happy or is meaningful to you? Feel free to share why. Now, when it comes to these questions, feel free to go as in-depth as you want, or if you're not comfortable answering them, then that's okay too, you know? We just want to create a safe space for everyone. So don't feel too pressured about answering these questions, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put it in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want, or type it in the chat if you want to. So I'm going to go first. So hi everyone, my name is Francis. My pronouns are she, her, hers. On a scale of 1 to 5, how open am I with my parents? A 3, because they know I'm able to tell them when I feel anxious or depressed, but I never tell them exactly why or go in depth with my anxiety or depression. But when it comes to my brothers, um, it's a 4 because I'm more open with them. I think we have a closer sibling relationship. That's why. What is one song that makes me happy or is meaningful to me? Um, I really I really like EDM, and I like the song. Oh my God, it's like escaping me. It's by Odessa. Um, by Odessa. If I can remember, I'll type it in the chat. But I love that song so much because it makes me cry. It makes me cry because it gets me really emotional. It just makes me feel like, everything's gonna be okay, that I'm loved, that I have friends and family that care about me, stuff like that. And I'm gonna read off Nicole's. So Nicole's pronouns are she, hers. For her, her openness with her family is about a 3. And a song that's meaningful to her is Looking Up by The Bar, Bamboo and Prometheus Brown. She really likes progressive Filipino hip hop. And hearing their lyrics was a big influence on her values and motivates her when she feels bummed about outputs in community work. I feel that. Okay, thank you, Nicole.
Okay, I can go next. Hi everyone, my name is Katrina. My pronouns are she, her, hers. On a scale of 1 to 5, how open am I with my family? I'd say with my parents it's a 3, but with my brothers it's definitely a 5. I feel very comfortable with sharing what I'm feeling with them, and it's nice to have my siblings as basically my best friends, so I really rely on them for that. And one song that I absolutely love is Dynamite by BTS.
Okay.
Yeah, I just love it. It just makes me so happy when I listen to it. And yeah, I've been like watching or streaming their whole album because they just released it. But yeah.
Thank you, Kat. Would anyone else like to share? Ooh, I'm gonna read Catherine's. Okay, Catherine's pronouns are she, her, hers, and she says her openness is maybe a 2.5, and she listens to a lot of Asian artists, so she can't choose, but she likes 88 Rising a lot. I agree. I love 88 Rising. I love Nikki. She's my favorite.
Oh my gosh, me too. I love Nikki.
Yes, Nikki. She went to one of UCR's like school concerts. You know how
Oh
like
my
each school has
gosh,
their
no
concert?
way.
Yes, but I missed it because I spent too long trying to do my makeup, and then I missed her performance. But I did make it in time for what's his face? Lauv, Lauv. I never know how to
Wow,
pronounce
you guys have amazing artists.
it. We usually do get really good artists. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna read Mary's. So Mary's pronouns are she, hers. She's the same as me. She doesn't really speak to her parents about her mental health. So it's more of a one for her. In high school, they didn't really get along, which makes sense mainly because of the age gap and a lot of misunderstanding. But with her siblings, it's definitely a 4 to 5. She trusts them a lot when it comes to her mental health and etc. And a song that makes her so happy is probably any Hairspray song. Ooh,
I love
musical.
Hairspray.
Mhm. It brings back memories from high school when she was in drama. Yes, high school theater and drama. Thank you, Mary, for sharing. Okay, so would anyone else like to share before we continue forward? Ooh, okay, so Wilson's pronouns are he, his. For him, his openness is about a 3, and he's been listening to Baby Powder by Genevieve because it makes him feel free. I bet it makes you feel like baby, huh? Okay. Tita Mila, would you like to share?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was reading the chat and yeah, oh gosh, so strange that I'm sharing this with young people like you. Well, she, hers, and about opening up. I wish that my daughter was more open with me. We could talk about other things, but mental health was a very taboo kind of thing, and she did not want to upset me. So she didn't want to tell me all her troubles until she, yeah, she did not want to tell me about her problems, and I wish she did because she tried to commit suicide one time,
Mm.
and it was a nasty process. It did not, thank God, it did not materialize. But you know, guys, talking to your parents about something that troubles you is, I can understand why, and some kids would not want to open up with their parents. But it's just in the way of, in just the manner of delivery. Do not shock them. But if you can say it in a sometimes joking manner or one of those questions, you just say something like, "Ma, can I tell you something?" Or, "Ma," you know, those times when they are most quiet, that helps. So yeah, don't close up. Be try to find a good time to talk to your parents about whatever is in your mind. It helps. Now, my favorite song, you don't know this, but I'm sure you have heard it some time ago. The song I Believe, it was my graduation, high school graduation song back in the 70s, early 70s. So when you hear that, you say, oh, Tita Mila, yeah. We picture you going down at high school prom and the song I Believe. So that's it. If you hear it, you know, it's a very very sad song and very, but very inspiring song as well. They sing it sometimes in church. Okay, there we go.
Thank you, Tita Mila, for sharing. Okay, and thank you everybody else for sharing too. The reason why we ask these specific icebreaker questions is just to give kind of like a precursor of what we're going to talk about today, right? So obviously, there's going to be some music involved, and there's also going to be talks about family dynamics and our mental health, right? And Filipino culture, right? And not even just Filipino culture too. It's in a lot of other minority cultures as well. But let's begin by talking about substance use, right? I'm gonna share my screen. Oops, cancel. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna share my screen, and the first thing that I would like you guys to do is could you fill out this survey for me? So the link is there, and I believe Nicole put it in the chat as well. But You can also access the QR code right there, put my name as presenter. And if you live in Riverside County and you know which region you're from, meaning like if you're from Moreno Valley, Corona, Riverside, Norco, I think Eastvale too, that would be West region. But if you're from Menifee, Murrieta, Temecula, Lake Elsinore, Paris, that's Mid-County region. If you don't reside in Riverside County, but you work or go to school in Riverside County, please put the region where you work or school in Riverside County. So I know, for example, Mary, if you go to UCR, you would put West Region, or if you go somewhere else in San Jacinto College, that would be Mid-County Region, right? Sorry if that was too complicated. And if you don't live in Riverside County at all, or go to work or school in Riverside County, please put Mid-County, please and thank you. Okay, I'm gonna keep going forward because we'll see these surveys again at the end. Okay. So the title of this presentation is called Unshackled because we're going to talk about substance use, right? And when we talk about substance use, sometimes the person who is experiencing substance use disorders can feel shackled, can feel kind of trapped. And the way we can promote being free, being unshackled, is if we can talk about substance use freely and be able to help others without judgment, right? So because we're talking about mental health and some of the things that we talk about can get heavy, we have to establish some group agreements to make sure that we continue to have a safe space, okay? So let's all make sure that we're respectful of everyone and that we're keeping the conversation that we have confidential. So I can't control what you guys share, what you do and don't share, but I do want to ask you guys to be observant of what you do share because sometimes people share things and they might regret it later on. And because I don't want that to happen to you guys, just always be observant of what you do want to share. And overall, be kind and respectful to others who are sharing. Okay, thank you. So our objectives for today is we're going to talk about, we're just going to have a brief overview of mental health and stress. Then after that, we'll get into substance use disorders, and what are the signs and symptoms. Then we'll talk about types of substances, what are the risks, as well as protective factors, and then how we can help others. And then at the end, we have some resources. Okay, so let's talk first about mental health. Because we're talking about a mental health topic, so we have to know what mental health is. And what it is our emotional, social, and psychological well-being. And mental health is as important as physical health to lead a full and active life. Because sometimes we think of being healthy as being physically healthy and being able to diet and exercise. And sometimes we neglect that our overall health also includes taking care of our mental health too. And being careful, being observant about our stress levels, our mental health, so that when we take care of our mental health, we're also able to enjoy life and achieve balance, adapt to and recover from difficult experiences, feel safe and secure, and achieve our potential. Okay. So again, if we want to maintain overall wellness, we have to take care of both our physical health and our mental health. So what happens when our mental health starts to waver a little bit? Well, that experience is called stress. So what is stress and how does it affect us? Stress can show up and be experienced in a variety of ways, but essentially it's how our brain and body respond to any demand or challenges. So some of those challenges could include work or school demands, a significant life change, or a traumatic event. What stress looks like on our bodies and on us is sometimes you might experience increased heart rate, faster breathing, or tense muscles. Now, regular stress can be a one-time or a short-term occurrence, meaning when we experience that stressor, when it goes away or after that event, our bodily function should start to return to normal. Now, some people might respond differently to stressful situations. So one person might recover very quickly, but another person might need the rest of the day or might need, a whole weekend to recover. They might need a little bit more time, and that's normal. Now, what's not normal is when our body doesn't return to normal because of long-term chronic stress or because of stress that does not go away and that keeps happening. Like we experience stressors again and again and again for long periods of time. Now, chronic stress is more than just the physiological symptoms that we talked about earlier. It's more than just having tense muscles. It's more than just having sweaty palms and an increased heart rate. Now, because our bodily functions don't return to normal, it starts to really affect our bodily systems, such as our immune systems, our sleep systems. We start to have frequent headaches. We start to be very irritable and lash out at people. We might not have a good sleep schedule, and we might feel very sad and low energy a lot. Over time, when we have these disturbances to our bodily systems, it can really affect our health, our physical health. And we start experiencing, or we might experience heart disease, high blood pressure, or even develop mental health illnesses, right? And this goes back to what we were saying, which is if we don't take care of our mental health, if we don't resolve stress, our physical health becomes affected too, which is why if you want to maintain overall balance, we have to consider all aspects of our health, right? Now, some people, when they experience, mental health disorders or stress, just stress even, they might not have good coping skills. They might try to resolve their stress with substances, right? And that's why we're here to talk about substance use disorders. So let's first get into substances or drugs. And drugs are psychoactive substances that people may take to change their mood, their thinking, or their behavior. These substances are typically known as drugs, and they do include alcohol. So alcohol is also classified as a drug. The term drugs can also include medication. Some people might not think of medication being drugs, but they are. And that includes over-the-counter medications that you might find at your local CVS or your local Rite Aid, such as like cough medicine, um, the Dramamine, the motion sickness medicine, stuff like that. And they also include prescription medicines that your doctor might give to you. And we're going to get into drugs too. Now, substance use disorders or drug addiction is a disease that affects a person's brain and behavior and leads to an inability to control the use of a legal or illegal drug or medication. Substances such as alcohol, marijuana, and nicotine also are considered drugs. And when you're addicted, you may continue using the drug despite the harm it causes. Now, with substance use disorders, sometimes people forget that this is a disease. We have to emphasize that this is a disease. And when people have this disease, they're unable to control their cravings. They're unable to control their consumption of substances, right? Whether it's legal or illegal even. When someone's addicted, they might continue to consume these substances, even though they know that it's really harming them. Okay, that's what it means to have a substance use disorder. Now let's get into drugs. So there's legal drugs and illegal drugs. Now legal drugs, as we've briefly touched on, can include medication such as OTC medication that you might see in the store, or even prescription drugs that you can only get from your doctor. They also include alcohol, because that's something that you can buy if you're at the right age, caffeine, which is found in coffee, soda, tea, all of that, and other beverages too. And tobacco, which again is legal for people of certain ages, and marijuana, which is legal in some states. Okay. Now, illegal drugs are drugs that are not legal, and drugs that if you were caught in possession of, you could get arrested. That's why it's illegal. And those include amphetamines, or as you might know it, meth, cocaine or coke, stimulants. By the way, coffee is a stimulant, but other stimulants could include cocaine or MDMA, and opioids, PCP, phencyclidine, hallucinogens, and inhalants. Now, drugs can further be classified into 7 categories, such as depressants, inhalants, phencyclidine, cannabis or marijuana, stimulants, hallucinogens, and narcotics. And we're going to get into drugs that might be more common in our communities or in EPI youth, Filipino youth. So let's first get into depressants. Depressants, the most common depressant that people might know is alcohol, right? And what depressants do is they suppress the central nervous system. So someone who has consumed alcohol or other depressants might experience a reduced heart rate, reduced breathing rate, or reduced blood pressure. Mild doses, or a couple drinks might cause some mild euphoria, which is why when people have a couple drinks, they feel buzzed, right? But high doses can cause some depression, drowsiness, confusion, lack of coordination, and irrational behavior, which is why sometimes, or you know how when people get drunk, you can there's different types of drunks. Like there's a crying drunk, there's an angry drunk, right? There's happy drunk. It's because depressants can cause that irrational behavior or cause you to not act like how you would normally. Now, opposite to stimulants, depressants can constrict pupils, whereas stimulants can dilate pupils. And unfortunately, depressants can also cause some constipation. So, ouchie. Other examples of depressants can include Xanax and Valium, etc. Now let's get into alcohol, because alcohol is pretty popular among youth, college culture, and even high schoolers too. Now, more than 15 million people struggle with an alcohol use disorder in the US, but less than 8% of those receive treatment. Now, why is that? Well, it's because when it comes to substance use disorders or just, alcoholism, it can fly right past us because sometimes people are in denial, or they don't have access to effective mental health care, or there's other factors involved that prevent us from truly seeing that alcoholism is a problem for them, right? And we'll get into that too. But the effects of alcoholism is someone who has this disorder might be taking in large quantities, or they might be binge drinking, right? You've heard that term before. They want to stop, but they can't, and they're craving to drink even at inappropriate times, such as during work, during school, or anywhere else where it's not really the right place to have a drink. And because of that, it starts to impact their relationships or even their school and work. And now they have a lot of problems, and it's all due to alcohol. Okay. Next, let's get into marijuana or cannabis or weed, right? There's a lot of names for marijuana, like Mary Jane, or I've heard tree, devil's lettuce, right? If you've heard of unique ones, let me know in the chat. But with marijuana, a lot of people consider it to be a gateway drug, and the people who consume marijuana, they experience impaired motor coordination. They experience a sensation of slow time. Maybe they have impaired judgment and they're not able to read cues. Maybe they lack some motivation. and they're experiencing anxiety too, or paranoia, right? You've heard of that. And they're actually at increased risk for experiencing psychosis and even schizophrenia. Now, long-term users, especially in teens, it actually starts to lower IQ points by 4 to 5 points. So those are the negative effects of marijuana. Now, hallucinogens I included because it's pretty popular in college culture, especially APIs in college. And hallucinogens can include ecstasy, LSD, and mushroom or shrooms. Also, ecstasy can also be classified as a stimulant too. But with hallucinogens, about 17.9% of Asian American adolescents have experimented with hallucinogens such as ecstasy. It's pretty popular because a lot of people in college, they like music festivals, and in music festivals, they consume drugs, right? Now, the term wave parties is a little older, but what it is people they go to like a secluded place, such as a house or somewhere else where there's like low density population, or a private place or something like that, and they all drop a tab at the same time, meaning they all consume LSD at the same time. And they do that because they want to experience the high altogether. And if you're not aware of what LSD does, is it alters vision. It makes everything brighter, like the colors stand out, and then like vision gets distorted too, so things look wavy and like it's breathing. And there's like euphoria and stuff like that, which is why it's called wave parties, because everything feels wavy. A more common term now would be house rolling in youth, and that's when people go to someone's house. They gather together and then they all roll, or they consume ecstasy together to experience kind of the same effects. Now, the negative long-term effects of consuming hallucinogens can include difficulty with speech and thought, weight loss, depression, and memory loss. Oh yeah, so Katrina mentioned in the chat that it's common among rave culture with Asian American folks. That's true, right? Ecstasy is common in Asian ravers and ravers in general. Okay, let's continue. So lastly, stimulants are drugs that can make you feel like, there's time is going by really fast. When people consume stimulants, they're extremely alert and they're vigilant. And so examples of stimulants can include caffeine, so coffee and tea and soda, um, as well as cocaine or coke, or some people might call it yay, something like that. Angel dust, I think. There's a lot of creative names for a lot of drugs. Meth, right? And as I mentioned before, um, stimulants do the opposite of depressants, where depressants constrict pupils, but stimulants dilate pupils. And people who have stimulants or consume stimulants, they might not be able to sleep for extended periods of time, which is why, people drink coffee in the morning so they could stay awake, they could wake up, right? Unfortunately, stimulants can create some anxiety, which is why sometimes when people consume coffee, they feel a little bit jittery, right? Now, the long-term negative effects of consuming stimulants is extreme weight loss, reduced sexual functioning, gastrointestinal problems, muscle deterioration, chronic exhaustion, cardiovascular damage, delusion, seizure, and paranoia. Now let's get into risk and protective factors. What are some things that might make us feel shackled versus what are some things that can free us? So when it comes to risk factors, there's 3 types of risk factors that can increase the likelihood of someone developing a substance use disorder. There's genetic or biological risk factors, there's psychological risk factors, and there's environmental risk factors. Let's first talk about genetic risk factors or biological risk factors. Now, genetics can account or 40% to 60% likelihood that somebody might develop a substance use disorder. And that is because family history of addiction and prenatal exposure um, can really increase the risk of someone developing this disorder, right? And for example, with prenatal exposure, and what that is a pregnant mother who is addicted to drugs continues to consume drugs while she has a baby in her tummy, right? And because the baby's exposed to drugs, that baby becomes addicted too, right? And what happens is when the mom gives birth, the baby, when it's delivered, comes out shaking violently. And the reason why is because it's immediately experiencing withdrawal symptoms, right? So you can imagine how genetics can really affect someone's likelihood of um, developing a substance use disorder. But fortunately, even though there's a 40% to 60% chance of someone developing a substance use disorder if they've had family history of addiction or prenatal exposure, there's still a 60% to 40% chance that they won't develop a substance use disorder. Okay. Next up, we have psychological risk factors. And for someone who is more impulsive or sensation seeking, they're more at risk to develop a drug addiction or substance use disorder because the concept of trying new drugs or experiencing new highs might be appealing to them. Someone else who might have lower self esteem or someone who doesn't have support or coping skills, or even someone who has co-occurring mental health disorders, might be more at risk for developing drug addictions because they might use drugs to cope when it comes to, lack of support or low self-esteem, right? And lastly, environmental risk factors include stress, right? External stress, such as, feeling pressure to succeed, maybe financial difficulties, maybe relationship problems or immigration stress, or maybe someone has been through a divorce or is experiencing divorce in the family or loss of a loved one, or they experience tense home environments, or they have trauma from child abuse or other traumatic events that might put them more at risk for developing drug addictions because, again, they might use drugs to cope. Now, in young adults, there may be more common risk factors in all risk factor aspects, such as biological, psychological, and environmental. With biological risk factors in youth, hormonal changes might put them more at risk because the hormonal changes might make them more sensitive, might make them or more likely to experience irritability or sadness, or lead them to have other co-occurring mental health disorders, and they might use drugs to cope. With psychological risk factors, it can be due to young adults' personality. If they're more impulsive, if they're more sensation seeking than their peers, if they have other co-occurring mental health disorders too, right? That might put them more at risk. With environmental risk factors, youth and young adults might be more likely to develop drug addictions because of peer pressure, right? Or maybe they're being bullied and they use drugs to cope. Or maybe their home environment is toxic and they use drugs to cope. Or they might see in social media or popular culture drug usage and how it's being normalized and even glorified too. And they might see that as, they want to fit in, so they might try drugs and not realize that this puts them at risk for developing drug addictions. Now, when it comes to addiction, earlier I mentioned that, sometimes or a lot of the times it can fly right past us. And that's because progressive use, it doesn't look the way people might expect, right? It starts off with something as simple as just plain intoxication. You go out, you go to a party with your friends, and you try substances for the first time. It's a safe, controlled environment, and you're with your friends, and they're there to take care of you. So you're like, okay, let me try it. it'll be fun. And it feels good, so you want to do it again, but the next time your tolerance is higher, right? Your tolerance is higher and you need to consume more. Maybe you need to drink more than you did last time to get the same feeling that you did the first time, right? And because it feels good again, you want to keep doing it again and again until you start to develop a physical dependence, meaning you feel like you won't feel good unless you're taking those drugs, right? And because your tolerance just keeps going up, you have to keep consuming more than before to get the same feeling that you did the first time. And now, next thing you know, it's now an addiction, meaning it's not just about feeling good anymore, it's about feeling normal. And you feel like you can't feel normal unless you consume the drugs, right? And those are the effects of substance use, right? So someone who has a drug addiction or a substance abuse disorder, they will have impaired control over substance. They can't control how much they take or when they're craving it, right? And because of that, it starts to negatively impact their relationships and their social activities. People start to become worried for them, but they still continue to consume drugs, right? Now, somebody who has a drug addiction, they're unable to discern dangerous and risky use, and their tolerance just continues to go up and up and up. And that contributes to them not knowing how risky and how dangerous their substance use is. Meaning, for example, someone who has a drug addiction, they might be consuming a lot of drugs, right? They might be consuming a lot of drugs because of their increased tolerance, right? But somebody who is not addicted, if they were to consume the same amount of drugs that somebody who is addicted consumes, for them, it could be deadly, right? And that's what it means when it's dangerous use, dangerous and risky use. Now, with our friends, sometimes it's a little harder to see substance abuse happening, right? And that could be due to how, youth around us, young adults around us, um, in our community, in college culture, in high school culture, there's specific attitudes towards substances. Especially in college, people might normalize drugs. They might even glorify it, like I said before, right? Or they're in denial about drug usage or their substance abuse disorder. And you can see that when people go out every weekend or they party every weekend, and they use it as a reason to escape or cope with how hard school is, right? I worked so hard and I studied so hard this week. I deserve to go out. And it's not even just that. They might flip the narrative and say, you know what? Like, I had a bad week and I got really bad grades, so I deserve to have fun, right? It all works out, right? And not only that, but it's in a lot of popular culture, and we talked about it before, but in music, right? And in music festivals, people go and listen to music that normalizes drug use and drug abuse. And they go to festivals and consume drugs, and there's been people that have overdosed at music festivals because of drug abuse, right? And when it comes to our friends, it can be hard to believe that substance abuse disorders could happen to them, right? Sometimes it's hard for us to believe that, to see that. Now, of course, even though there's risk factors, there's also protective factors for drug addictions. And the protective factors is pretty similar to protective factors for anxiety. And protective factors can include having strong supportive connections, having coping skills such as problem solving and stress management, getting effective mental health care that's accessible, having positive interests and activities, and leading a healthy lifestyle, being able to sleep well, diet well, and exercise, and even having spirituality too. Those are all things that can protect someone from developing a drug addiction, because someone with these, protective factors, they might be able to cope better than looking to drugs, right, or consuming drugs. There's also treatments available out there, such as psychotherapy, medications, medical devices to treat withdrawal symptoms, evaluation and treatment for co-occurring mental health issues, long-term follow-up to prevent relapse, and recovery support groups. But even though there's treatments available, there will always be barriers to seeking help. And especially in our community, there's cultural stigma. There's a big cultural stigma. And with this cultural stigma, it might lead our families and friends to believe that we have to deal with our substance use disorders on our own, right? We can't go see a professional because we don't know what it's going to be like. If we go see a professional, they're just going to air out all our dirty laundry, right? And maybe, what if it's expensive, right? And if we go and seek help, we're going to let our family down. And if we let our family down, we're going to embarrass our whole family, right? If we show others that we need help, it means that we're weak. But we know that's not true. We know better than that, right? We know that seeking professional help is an investment to ourselves, right? It means we want to take care of ourselves. And if we're able to take care of ourselves, we're able to take care of our families, right? We're doing this for our loved ones, not just for us too, right? Mainly for us, but it's for us to be able to lead a full, healthy life, right? With our loved ones. Now, how might we help our friends? Again, our friends might be in more denial to seek help. And even with us too, it might be hard for us to admit that our friends need help too. And this could be due to the cultural stigma, such as not wanting to disappoint family, right? It might be due to college culture or youth culture where we might think this is only temporary. When I graduate and when I have my own life, when I'm like 30 or something, I'll be able to stop, right? Or maybe our friends might just be doing this to fit in, right? It's part of their personality. And they don't realize that it's becoming harmful now, right? Or maybe our friends are using this to cope, using substances to cope, right? But what can we do? Well, the first thing we can do is just open up the conversation, right? And if they're able to open up to us after we express our concerns, we listen non-judgmentally. We're patient with them. We let them know that we're here for them, as well as letting them know that they're healing. They can heal at their own pace, pretty much, right? Now we might face some backlash, which is normal because sometimes our friends are in denial, and that's okay. But at the very least, we opened up that conversation and we got them into thinking about this issue. We can also model healthy coping skills and then seek appropriate resources, professional help, and even join our friends in getting educated about substance use disorders. We can also try to work out a plan to keep our friends safe and responsible. And if we have any immediate concerns, we call 911 right away. Okay. So Katrina says vulnerability is the key to positive change. Opening up the conversation and being patient is very important. And that's true, right? We have to be patient and we have to allow our friends a safe space for them to be vulnerable. Okay. And that concludes the substance use portion. I have resources for you guys if you want to take a picture. If not, I'll send it in the chat too. Here's some more lines. You can call or text the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Yes, I'll send it in the chat. And we have a counseling center as well in Moreno Valley. We offer mental health services for children and youth between ages 3 to 20, as well as adults too. And we accept IHP Medi-Cal. Here's some more resources and websites that you can visit for more information. And then we also offer other wellness workshops on different topics too, not just substance use disorders. And then for parents, we have a parenting program called KITE, which stands for Keeping Intergenerational Ties in Ethnic Families. And it's for parents who have children ages 6 to 17 and who live in Riverside County, where we learn how to bridge the intergenerational gap. And here are more additional resources in Riverside County, as well as mental health urgent care centers, and then resources that you can visit online because they're going to have a lot of other resources too. And then here is the last survey that I'd like you guys to fill out. This is the satisfaction survey. Again, same rules apply. If you know which region you live in Riverside County, or you know which region you go to work or school in Riverside County, please fill that out. If you don't live in Riverside County, please use Mid-County as your region. Okay. This is the survey from before, the first survey from before. And I'll also include it in the chat. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. Okay, so thank you guys for listening. Right now, we're gonna take a little break before we get into Katrina's portion, right? Because I know that was a lot of information that you guys just listened to, and we really appreciate you guys taking the time to be here. So right now we're gonna take a little break, so you can, get up, go to the bathroom, grab a drink, grab a snack, all of that, and then afterwards, I'm gonna introduce Katrina and invite her to present her project. Okay. So yeah, I'm also gonna play some music. I remembered the song that makes me happy, so I'm gonna share it. Share music. It's called Line of Sight by Odessa. Okay, when we take a break, let's come back at 5 o'clock. Give you guys 2 extra minutes, 5 o'clock.
I'm facing back to front, over my shoulder at the sun. And it's an open door, and off my line of sight once more.
Oh, also, I just want to let you guys know, for Q&A, we'll reserve that for the very end. So if you have any questions from the previous presentation, hold on to it until the very end. Okay.
Out of line, it'll all be fine this time. Out of line, 'cause you always seem so kind. Out of line, it'll all be fine this time. Out of line, out of line.
play some Nikki up in here because we were talking about her.
Wonder what I'll do when the cops come through and the whiskey's run out. Cause I've been looking at you since 2:30. Wanna take this downtown. This liquid courage got me way too honest. Put your phone on vibrate, let's catch a vibe, babe, while the sun's down. Hush now, I know we're a little too fucked up to stay still. Be as quiet as you can, cause if anyone sees, they'll just blow shit up. I don't gotta know if you're taken, I just let you know, bad shoes fake it. No one's gotta know, just us and the moon till the sun starts waking. Up's the only direction I see. As long as we keep the low, 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 low key. You ain't even gotta low, 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 love me. I'll send my king size, keep it a secret. Say I'm your queen, I don't wanna leave this low, 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 low key. Wizard with words telling me my energy's so bewitching. So I'll go first, there's an open bar, let's close this distance. So
Hi, Bailey.
I don't make me have to spell it all night. I don't really give a fuck about all the he said, she said bullshit. So pick your poison, love, let's go somewhere a little more exclusive. Take a shot, take a chance, take my hand, boy. Tension so intense like an asteroid. Be discreet, gotta dodge at the tabloids. Let's not think too much, there ain't no problems. So long as we keep this low, 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 low key. You ain't even gotta low, 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 love me. I'll send my king size, keep it a secret. Say I'm your queen, I don't wanna leave this low, 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 low key.
Okay, it is 5 and this song is ending. I hope you guys are all back from our cute little break. Welcome, Bailey, to our workshop today. And again, one more time, thank you everybody for being with us this Tuesday evening. Right now, we're gonna have Katrina show her presentation. Katrina is one of our beloved interns from our Kapakabataan program. She has worked really hard to provide us with her own song that she composed, as well as she has done her research on substance use and bridging the gap between, intergenerational families, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and hand the mic over to Katrina. Take it away, Katrina.
Okay, hello everybody, and again, thank you so much for attending. It really means a lot to us. And thank you, Francis, for giving us that great presentation, some good background research for what I'm about to touch on today. So as it was being said, I'm going to be presenting my song where I talk about substance use, and I'm also going to be presenting my research as well. We're also going to have a Q&A session at the end, so please feel free to give your questions then. It can be about my video or Francis's presentation. So without further ado, I'm really excited to show you guys my song. Let me just share my screen. All right, can you guys see my screen? Thumbs up?
Yes.
Okay, great. Oops.
In the silence, there's nothing to fill the void. There goes her mind again, conversations that mama avoids. Wish she was better than I did, Rebecca. Cum laude to nicotine, her therapy, and drowning glasses half empty. If only mama knew, would she love her just the same? Would she tell her to pray it away? If only mama knew. Who knows? It's only one conversation away. In the silence, masakit ang katotohanan. Pero habang may buhay, may pag-asa. I know that there is a gap between days, but just this once, can we stay on the same page? If we let ourselves be filled with shame, we become the silence, the source of the pain. No inner peace in the shameful things that mama thought she'd never see. A burden if she tells the truth, don't you see? Don't you see? Talks to nicotine, her therapy, and drowning glasses half empty. If only mama knew, would she love her just the same? Would she tell her to pray it away? If only mama knew, only one conversation away.
Hi everybody, my name is Katrina Carpizo, and I wanted to thank you all for listening to my song, If Only Mama Knew. I wrote this song because I wanted to bridge the intergenerational gap between mental health stigmas and family dynamics in Filipino culture, specifically regarding substance use. My song is about a girl who's at a crossroads. So she's particularly anxious about telling her mom her inner feelings about pressures to succeed, fear of failure, and everything in between that space. You know, in Filipino culture, especially as first-generation Filipino Americans, talking about mental health is not always prevalent. Confiding to our family about the struggles that we face is not common, and if we are silent about the problems that we are struggling with inside, it may cause us to feel alone and cause our family members to feel alone. Because of this, in certain cases, individuals may feel extremely stressed, turning to substances like alcohol and nicotine, and becoming at risk for addiction. According to the American Addiction Center, 4.8% of Asian Americans have a substance use disorder, compared to a rate of 7.4% among the total population. Filipino Americans have the highest rate of illicit drug use, which is 7.9%. When compared to the rest of the country, Asian Americans are more than 3 times less likely to receive treatment than the general population, which is 11.1%. Sadly, many Asian Americans hide their substance abuse from family and friends until the consequences of their addiction are so serious, often resulting in scenarios such as arrest, hospitalization, or homelessness, that intervention is often forced onto them. From 2013 to 2018, the number of overdoses amongst Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders had risen dramatically in New York City. In 2018 alone, the death rate for AAPI people had increased by 12%, and this was due to unintentional drug poisonings. And now connecting the relationship between mental illness and substance use disorders, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration conducted a study in 2018, and they found that 2.7 million Asian, Native Hawaiian, and other Pacific Islander adults had a mental and/or substance use disorder. So, to summarize, we are highly affected by substance use, yet we are less likely to receive treatment. It's undeniable that family is such a huge part of our culture. You know, ever since I was a kid, I looked forward to going to family gatherings, chatting with my cousins, eating my Lola's specialty lumpia, her desserts, and even listening to my titos singing emotional ballads with the karaoke machine. But I think that it's important to address that in these familial spaces, things like drama, judgment, chismis, and even shame had cultivated at certain points. These sentiments contribute to the realm of toxic Filipino culture. So before I dive into my research, I want to give you guys a brief overview of what substance use actually is. So I have my laptop right here. I'm going to read the definition. Substance use refers to the use of drugs or alcohol, which can include cigarettes, illegal drugs, over-the-counter drugs, and inhalants. Substance use becomes a challenge when individuals become dependent on these substances, leading to an addiction. So, connecting this to my own research, I had asked my peers at UCLA who were involved in student-led Filipino organizations the following questions. When you go to a family party, what are some common questions or phrases that you hear from your relatives? For the first question, I received a lot of answers revolving around school. So, how is school? Is it easy? You're studying political science. Why don't you become a nurse like your cousin? Your cousin finished top of his class. And this was a random comment, but very common. Hoy, you've gotten fatter. Have you ever known someone who's overdosed, and what factors do you think may have influenced them? This includes blacking out and alcohol poisoning. Alright, for my second question, I actually received a mixed bag of answers. So some people knew individuals who had overdosed and some people didn't. Those who did know people talked about their friends from college who had experienced alcohol poisoning, and they felt that factors like escapism from academic challenges or pressures to succeed may have influenced this person. Another person talked about a relative who struggled with alcoholism and smoking, and this person felt like this relative was using it as a coping mechanism to handle financial worries. Would you feel comfortable with discussing issues about your mental health with your family members? For my third question, I received a resounding not really. Some individuals didn't want to talk about their mental health because they felt like it would burden their parents with that knowledge. And again, this comes back to pressures to succeed, performing under the facade that everything is okay so that this person isn't a burden to the parents. Another person felt that they would be isolated or ignored by family members if they told their parents how they were feeling. Substance use and issues surrounding mental health can be seen as taboo. And lastly, people felt that it was a hard conversation to have with their parents. They may be ignored or feel less supported. It was also stated that this person's mom may talk about religion and praying more as a way to offer support. I want to read you guys a specific stanza from my song because I feel like it translates well to these answers that you've just heard. Talks to nicotine, her therapy, drowning glasses half empty. If only mama knew, would she love her just the same? Would she tell her to pray it away? If only mama knew, who knows? Only one conversation away. When we're looking to facilitate this intergenerational conversation, being vulnerable is the key to positive change. So as we open up this conversation, we don't mean to villainize our elder generation, nor do we want to patronize our younger generation. We simply want to understand each other, coming from a place of mutual respect and love. Rather than going back to our ways about suppressing how we feel inside, I actually have an action item for all of you guys. I want you guys to check up on your family members. Check up on your daughter who's at college. Check up on your cousin who you haven't seen in a couple years. Check up on your Lola who may be lonely because of COVID. Some ways that you can reach out to them, you could ask them how they're feeling straight up. You can send them a funny meme that you would think they would enjoy and then segue into a checkup conversation. You can FaceTime them and check in on how they're doing. Be the person that you wish you could be to your younger self. As we bridge this age gap, remember, as I said in my song, if we let ourselves be filled with shame, we become the silence, the source of the pain. It's only one conversation away. Okay, so thank you all for watching my video. Haven't been able to look at the chat yet, but there's a lot of comments. Thank you guys so much. Now's the time to ask your questions. If you guys want to know anything about the video that I made or any questions that I had during my research process, I would love to hear them and answer them. But yes, again, as I said in my video, if we become silent, we become the source of the pain. So for me, it's really important to open up this conversation, have this chat here, so that we can go forth in our own lives and our personal lives and be comfortable with bringing up these hard topics. Because I know it's a hard conversation to have, but again, as I said, vulnerability is the key to positive change. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to speak it up, or also put it in the chat, private message me, anything.
Katrina, you sing so good.
Oh, thank you so much.
We loved it. Oh my gosh, it was so good.
Oh
I
my
was
gosh,
fangirling on the inside.
Thanks for the support, guys. This is a shameless plug, but I can also link my YouTube channel to
Yes,
the chat.
no shame. Show us your YouTube channel.
Okay.
Nikki better watch out, for sure. If you guys want to see, oh yeah, so if you guys want to see Katrina sing again, she's gonna sing at Showcase. So please join our showcase, attend our showcase where all of our other Kapwa interns will present their projects that they've been working on from September to now. Yeah. And it's not just Kat too. We have other musicians among our interns. So if you want to enjoy like an afternoon of like talking about mental health, Filipino culture, and music, please join our showcase, which is this Saturday at 1 p.m. Follow us on Instagram for more updates. I'll link our Instagram too. And subscribe to Kat.
Someone said put it on Spotify.
For
SoundCloud.
sure.
I could put on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Oh, someone just entered.
My friend Justine.
Did you write the words to that too, Katrina?
Yes,
The lyrics your own? Wow, very good, huh?
Thank you.
Very, very nice. That should be a good, really inspiration for the rest. Encouragement to be creative. Would like to see all your ideas and yeah, like to listen to your voices, guys. Such talent. Very good.
Oh, that reminds me. I'm going to put in the chat the substance use resources if you guys want to download it. And let's see, documents, where is it? Where'd it go?
I'll make a post it on my SoundCloud. Thank
Ooh,
you.
SoundCloud. Where did I put it? Oh, there it is. There you guys go. Yeah, okay. Thank you everybody for joining. You know, I actually had a question. Kat, what's your process when you write songs?
Oh, actually, this is the first time I've actually written a song.
No,
Yes,
no
I
way.
only cover. So writing this song was definitely like out of my comfort zone. I have spent like so much time like overthinking it, and then like last week it just flew out of my brain, but it was
Oh my
so hard.
gosh. You're
Yeah, so
lying. That was so good. That was not your first time.
I'm
What?
being serious. I've never composed like my own stuff. I only cover.
Dang. Did you hear that, Nicole? So, you know, Kat's first song
Wow.
is for Kappa.
Yeah. It was so enjoyable though. I feel like in the future I'd want to write more songs because it's fun. It's really fun.
Oh,
And
yeah.
showing you guys this song was also just made me happy.
I'm so glad like our program helped you discover that, you know, it means a lot.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool. I think that concludes our workshop for today. If there's no other questions or closing remarks, I just want to wish everyone a good evening. We're so grateful that you guys came, you know, and listened to our presentation today and what we had to say, as well as Kat's video and listen to her sing too. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to ask Core to stay along with Kat so we can debrief a little bit. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you everyone for coming.
Thank you, Wilson. See you Saturday. Thank you, Bailey. I'm gonna go ahead and kick you out. Hope you're okay with that. Okay. There we go. Okay. Good job, Kat.
Thank you.
You did so good. Very proud of you.
That was such a relief to show my song. I've been
Yeah,
keeping it for a week. I was so excited.
they loved it. Oh my God, everyone loved it. It made Nicole cry.
Really? Oh my gosh.
I had a tear because like I also have a hard time talking to my mom about like just mental health stuff. So that meant a lot. And I'm like, that would be great for not just, you know, our promoter program or the resource centers program, but also for Kite, because you talked about like intergenerational stuff. So
Thank you.
Will you be keeping your video up on YouTube?
Yeah, I can keep it up. I'm debating on whether I should post on my actual channel, but I don't know because I don't put my last name on that channel, so I don't know if I should. Actually, no, I think I can share it because I don't put my last name in the video.
I don't think you did.
Yeah.
I don't think you did. But yeah, if you post it somewhere else, is it okay if we continue to show it to like future COPWA interns?
Oh, for sure.
Awesome.
Yes. For the showcase on Saturday, should I show the video or
I was thinking maybe it'll be good if you show your song, just your song portion.
for
Or
the performance or?
or what do you think about saving the like you can show maybe a small clip of the song and then like just talk about your project and stuff like that because it's only you have like 2 to 3 minutes and the song is pretty long. We want to capture just like as much as we can your whole process and journey. But what we can do is I talked with Tita Mila and during the breakout sessions, I think we're just going to do it open mic style. So I'm going to send an email tonight and basically it has like slots for y'all to sign up. Desiree and Tiana already kind of signed up last night when they just messaged me. They're going to do songs. So like if you would like to, there are 3 more.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be down.
Wow, I'm so like, wow, amazed.
I know.
Thank you.
It
Yeah.
was so good. I'm like still thinking about it. I was gonna say, if you show, you know how like you had a whole video, maybe you could show like that end portion where you say, I'm gonna read you guys a stanza from my song, and then you kind of interpreted it. I think that would be enough.
Okay,
What do you think,
sounds good.
Nicole?
For the 2-minute portion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that way you preview your song, like, what your song lyrics, but then you also interpret them, which is your project, right? Yeah.
I think that was really dope that you're able to firsthand like go to your peers and ask them those questions and it's not just a learning thing for you but it's also a learning thing for your peers to reflect on. Oh my gosh, this is an issue that needs a lot more light, a lot more development and things like that. Really
Yeah,
great.
it was definitely a new experience to actually reach out to like people who are involved in Filipino orgs at my school because usually it's just academically related or like for clubs, but actually being a little bit vulnerable with them was really cool. And it was empowering too because, to know about our shared experiences growing up is both comforting and it also poses like a real challenge that, hey, this is something that a lot of kids are kind of feeling and it should be something that should be addressed. So it was eye-opening.
How are you able to help them open up and be vulnerable? Like that's really difficult, I think.
So I'm in like they call it a FAMS thing. So there's like a mentoring group. So I'm pretty close with the people there. So I technically have like an established relationship with them already, but it's not like I just like gave them these questions and they told me their responses. So yeah, I was able to send my Google form to them, and some of them texted me about it. So yes, I got lucky with really open individuals.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the questions we need to ask our interns, just like me thinking in retrospect, would be like, what do you want us to advocate for in Riverside County, from peer support groups, more counselors, more programs, more therapists, like of all the things that um, that can be funded for in mental health for Filipinos, like what's on your wish list?
Oh, for me, I think it's definitely support groups, like having people your age who you can, I mean, people your age and being able to talk to them about these problems because it's definitely harder when it's with older people or again with family members. And it's much more comfortable. So I would say support groups, um, that element of like bringing people together to discuss certain topics.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm gonna share my screen, by the way.
And how is outreach for you, Katrina? I saw like there was a mix of like new faces and old faces in the chat. So
Outreach. Yeah, so I put it on my story this week, and then I also shared the flyer in the group meets. But it was kind of hard to facilitate people to go because I don't know. I guess it's different when it's completely online and you can't like tell them in person like, hey, can you go to this event? So it was kind of hard for me. Um, yeah, and just syncing up everyone's schedules with the academic season. But I'm really grateful for the people that showed up to this one.
Yeah, it's close to like a lot of big exams and holidays, so right. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to kind of add or ask. Do you have questions for us? Other questions about Showcase?
No, I'm good. I'm excited for Saturday's event, seeing everyone's projects.
What's the title of your song again? It's
I'll put in the chat. It's If Only Mama Knew.
okay.
Okay, so I was already starting to write positives and deltas. I wanted to share one of my deltas, which is I wish I wish more people came so we could all fangirl over Katrina.
I know.
I was trying to get all my friends to come. I was like, please go, it's gonna be so good.
I posted my story and everyone's like swiping up. I was like, great, like people are gonna go. And then luckily one person showed up, so I definitely agree with that.
I feel like would it have been helpful if there's called what's like sweeping outreach, where you just put it out there for the masses and they have at it. And then there's called consolidating outreach or like follow up, so that after people have seen the post, you like message them one-on-one, be like, hey, so are you actually going? Hey, are you actually
Good tips.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
So sweeping
Definitely,
outreach.
yeah,
which is a
working more
post
on
dump.
outreach.
Usually my when I do those follow-up pitches, I phrase it as, hey, I'm getting a head count for my workshop. Are you able to attend or not? So I say, oh, I'm getting a head count. It's like an excuse for them to reply.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like in the next cohort, we need to do like an outreach 101
That'd be good.
workshop for everybody.
Yeah, actually, that'd be so helpful. It's one thing to like make your project, and then it's another thing for people to actually watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's on like a video platform like YouTube. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was so good.
Thank you so much.
Do you have any positives, deltas that you want to include, Kat?
I think delta is just to remind myself, like from the Kapwa Kabataan experience, you get as much from it as you put in. So for me, I wish I had like prioritized it more on certain weeks. But it was overall like a very fulfilling experience. I wish I could have made it more, like as fulfilling as it could have been. And that's more on like my accountability into going into events and supporting my peers. So I think that's important to tell like future interns.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some good advice. But I also want to remind you that you also worked really hard on the song and the research itself. And I don't want you to forget that because, sometimes like we think of, oh, this could have been done better. And then we forget like, but I did work hard on this though,
For sure.
Yeah. Honestly, like, oh my God, beautiful song. I'm gonna highlight that just so you don't forget. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Oh my
Thank
God, I'm gonna put
you.
this too. Made Nicole cry.
Validating my emotions.
Your song touched the hearts of everyone who listens to it.
I'm gonna
Oh,
play
nice.
that song for my mom.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is why I love music, because sharing it is the best feeling. And making people feel something is just what I love about it. So very happy over here. I
Oh
can post
yeah.
it on SoundCloud or whatever.
Trina's first self-composed song. KK is very honored. Yeah. I think also a positive is you gained more listeners,
Mm.
and your first song was already like super impactful. So you know,
Yeah.
like when you write more songs in the future, the listeners that you've gained today, you know, no doubt that they'll still feel the impact of every song that you make.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, that's all you.
Ooh, so cool. Yeah, I'm really grateful for this opportunity because I would have never like written my own music. I'm happy that this was a stimulus into me making a song, you know what I mean?
Yeah, cool. So, I guess other than positives and deltas, don't forget about Showcase. And then if you have other materials that you do need to send in, please send them in by Friday. I told everybody by 5 p.m. just because like if it's like too late, you know, we have to like try to get everything together by Saturday. So as much as possible, maybe if we can get it by 5, at least we can have like the evening to get everyone's stuff all put together, stuff like that. And then um if you're free, tomorrow and Friday, it is going to be our last 2 workshops from Adelaide and Depression Group, which is Louise, Kurt, although I know he can't make it, Arvik, um, Zoe. Who else was it? Was that it, Nicole? I think that's it.
Should be it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing. If you want to look at this, you want to refer to this, it's in your folder. It's the same document as the program agenda.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Kat, and thank you, Nicole, for helping.
Of course, I'm excited.
Okay.
I'm gonna
All right.
take a break before Adelaide's rehearsal.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna end meeting. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Nice.